Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chapter 4 of Tissues, Organs, Systems, and Homeostasis. So, scientists and clinicians divide up tissue, animal, human tissue, into four different types. So, you should be able to, name those four types, define their characteristics, and give an example in real life. All right, so the four major tissue types in our body are connective tissue, which binds and supports body parts, muscular tissue, which allows us movement, nervous tissue, which is like the computer, so nerve impulses or small electronic signals can be uh, moved around, generated, understood, and epithelial tissue, which is our colors our body and it's the lining of our different organs. All right, so you can recheck your progress on your own. I'm just going to really go over the nitty gritty of these slides. Here are your learning outcomes. These are what you should get out of this, and definitely be able to differentiate between blood and lymph. That's a area that biology students, especially the beginning ones, struggle with. So let's jump right into it here. We have connective tissue. Three main components: specialized cells, ground substance, also called the extracellular matrix, and protein fibers. So that ground substance or non-cellular material between the cells is just as important as the cells in connective tissue, and that material can actually talk to the cells around them. All right, so it can vary in consistency or how it's solid, like a bone, to fully liquid, like a blood. Blood is a part of our connective tissues. All right, here is different components of different connective tissues. So top left, we have the adipose cell, which we also call it a fat cell. It stores fats. Uh, we have elastic fibers that are stretchable and help keep the matrix together. That red kind of tube is a blood vessel, which transports lots of different things through it. We got a little stem cell top right, which can turn into other types of cells. So it's like the beginning cell. We have collagen fibers in connective tissue, very, very common. And then when the genes for these collagen fibers get mutated, we get people with stretchy skin or their bones break extra easily, lots of different phenotypes. There's the fibroblast, another cell that basically keeps all this structure together. And we also have white blood cells. It's hard to see me because my face is there, but those basically are part of our immune system. All right. So when we talk about these protein fibers, they're roughly divided in three different categories. We have collagen fibers, which are flexible and strong. You think of those in your ligaments and joints. We have reticular fibers, then highly branched collagen fibers. We also have elastic fibers that contain elastin, which is a protein that can stretch and recoil. And so there are three main types of connective tissues. There's fibrous, supportive, and fluid. All right, these are the different types of connective tissue divvied up. I'll let you look at this little chart on your own. Take your time with it. All right, so when we think of fibrous connective tissue, there's two forms, loose and dense. Both contain fibroblasts separated by the matrix. So your text now goes from called ground substance, and it's in other textbooks it's called extracellular matrix. All right, so it's got everything in it but cells. All right, we have loose fibrous connective tissue. All right, and we have dense fibrous connective tissue. So here's just different types of connective tissue found in the knee. We have cartilage. We have some adipose tissue. We have fat. Fat provides a good cushion between joints and bones. All kinds of fibrous tissues and cells. All right, so loose fibrous connective tissue supports the epithelium and many internal organs. Adipose tissue, again, stores fat. I love testing on that, so you should know what adipose tissue is. Adipocytes are just cells filled with fats. All right. So fats can function a lot of different ways. Energy storage, insulation, keeps us warm. Typically, fatter people are warmer in the winter than skinny people. It's also cushioning. So what I'm experiencing right now, since I'm 55 and I'm very active on my feet and I try to exercise and run, I get a lot of callus buildup on the bottom of my feet, which I never did when I was a kid. And I saw a podiatrist and basically said, yep, as you get older, the fat between your skin on the bottom of your feet and your bones gets worn away. And so when it's bone on skin, that's why you get calluses easier. So we have dense fibrous connective tissue, which is densely packed with those collagen fibers. And collagen is a protein. It's basically, it's a chain. There's 3 different proteins that wrap around each other. So these collagen fibers are really, really strong. So think of them like chains. So the supportive connective tissue, we have cartilage and bone. This is for shape, movement, protection, structure, you name it. Cartilage is more flexible than bone because it lacks mineralization of the matrix. So in bones, it's really like crystals forming. They're like rock crystals. And so when people get older, that matrix kind of breaks down. That mineralization isn't as strong. And so that's why old people, when they fall, they're more apt to get a broken hip or a broken bone. In the cartilage, 2 types of cells. We have chondrocytes and chondroblasts. All right. The matrix is solid in cartilage but flexible. Also lacks a direct blood supply, so it heals very slowly. So a lot of times, if you do sports and you get a soft tissue injury, like you tear a piece of cartilage, it actually takes longer to heal than if you broke a bone. Different types of cartilage here. We got hyaline cartilage, elastic cartilage, and fibrocartilage. All right, just form in different areas of the bones. All right, bone, the most rigid connective tissue. I think one of the hardest structures in our body is our teeth, and they're basically bones in our mouth. Matrix is made of collagen and calcium salts. All right, so when you get older, you have to put calcium supplement in your diet usually so your bones don't break down. And also in bone, I like testing on this because I used to study this for a living. The cells in the bones are called osteoblasts and osteoclasts. And the 2 different cell types, they can either basically create the matrix or break it down. So when your extracellular matrix in your bones needs to be restructured, cells will eat it away and then relay it down. It'd be kind of similar to if you ever done concrete work. When the concrete gets all cracked and old, all you can do is bust it out. Don't quote me on this. I always flip them around. I think that's the osteoblasts. So they can take out the extracellular matrix, and then the osteoclasts come in and repour the new extracellular matrix or concrete. So it's not as flawed. All right, so we have compact bones. We have spongy bones. I rarely test on this. Your book might, but it is what it is. So now we have the fluid connective tissue. All right, so we have blood and lymph. So we're going to go over blood first. It's made of a fluid matrix. Fluid means it's liquid. Matrix is a big fancy scientific terms, which we can describe water as a matrix, or like a pond as a matrix. Soil is always described as a matrix. It just means the mix of a bunch of different components. So in our blood, we have plasma. All right, that's the liquid. Then we got cellular components. So we got cells that float around, and we have different forms of proteins. Excuse me. Such as antibodies, and we have small molecules that float around our blood, oxygen, CO2, glucose, sugar. So if you're diabetic, you have to watch your blood sugar level. So that's glucose. All right, so your books goes into, we have red blood cells or erythrocytes. They carry oxygen. We got your white blood cells or leukocytes. They're part of our immune system. And then we have platelets or thrombocytes, and those are pieces of red blood cells that are used when we get a cut, so your blood will clot and you don't bleed out. So here's just some illustrations of these cells. The red blood cells are easy to pick out. They look like little red donuts. The platelets are just little pieces of cells. They're very small. And the white blood cells usually have a white or a blue look to them. And you can tell they're different, the different types by the shape and size of their nuclei. So lymph is derived from fluid surrounding the tissues. It contains white blood cells. All right. And so you have lymph nodes and vessels going all through your body. You can check your progress on your own, so you could pause it here if you wish, or you can just let the video play. So our next group is the muscular tissue. All right. And there's 3 different types, and you should know the location. I think I missed a slide, but it's not letting me go back, so we'll keep going because we have about 100 slides to go through. It's a lot. These chapters I made should be broken up a little better. Skeletal muscle, all right. It's attached to the skeleton by the tendons. It's what helps you move around. Just looking at 3 types of skeletal muscle. We have the smooth muscle, no striations. You cannot control this. All right. So these are like muscles in your colon, different places of your body that are involuntary. We also have cardiac muscle, which is only found in the heart. It is striated, so it's got stripes through it by the different proteins it expresses and different fibers. It's involuntary. You cannot control your heart. And these cells have a single nuclei. All right, you can go ahead and check your progress there. All right, next we're going into nervous tissue. So nervous tissue consists of neurons and neuroglia. The 3 primary functions of these are sensory input, so your 5 senses. Integration, like that's what your brain does. It integrates all the different signals we get. And then motor output. So our nervous system can make our muscles flex so that we can move our limbs, hands, etc., etc. All right, so neurons is a cell. It has 3 distinct parts. The dendrites, the cell body, and axon. The dendrites look like little tentacles. The cell body is typically round, but it can be other shapes. And the axon is like a long, skinny tail. Some neurons can be myelinated, so they're covered with a fatty protein substance called myelin. And nerves are defined by bundles of axons traveling to and from the brain and the spinal cord. All right, neuroglia outnumbers neurons 9 to 1, take up more than half the volume in the brain, and they got the best job ever. They're just to support and nourish the neurons, so they're like a big couch with food on them. All right, so you can do that. You can pause and do this, or you can move on with the audio. All right, so now we're going to talk about epithelial tissue. Its big job is the protector. It's also the wrapper. It's also the skin. It's crazy. All right. So with epithelial tissue, the first thing we ask is it simple or stratified? And so a simple epithelium, which is super thin, is only a single layer of cells. Stratified epithelium has multiple layers of cells. Huh. So these are just showing you the different shapes of epithelial cells. You can take a look on this on your own. So simple epithelial, there's what's simple squamous epithelial, single layer flattened cells. It's found in lungs where it functions in gas exchange. We have simple cuboidal epithelial. They're just cube-shaped cells in one layer. There's different examples where you see epithelial cells. So you see some in the lung, you see some in your kidneys. So you can have columnar epithelium, so they're column-shaped cells, and pseudostratified columnar epithelium. So just different places in the body where epithelial cells reside. All right, so in our body we have glands. These are one or more cells that secrete a product. Two types, exocrine and endocrine. Exocrines secrete into the ducts, and endocrine glands secrete into the bloodstream. Things that have no ducts. Next, we have stratified epithelium, which means just more than one layer, several layers of cells. So we can have stratified squamous. All right, this is typical of your skin. Your skin has many different layers. We also have transitional epithelial, so when cells change shape in response to tension or a chemical signal. Here are some examples of epithelial cells. All right, you go ahead and check your progress. All right, so now we're talking about organ systems, body cavities, and body membranes. So an organ is a group of tissues performing a common function. And so groups of organs with a similar function form an organ system. And remember, we have tissues, and below tissues, the building block is cells. So it goes cells, tissues, organs, organ system. All right, just some anatomical terms in physiology. So when they say it's ventral or anterior, it refers to the front of the body. When it's dorsal or posterior, it means towards the back. Superior means towards the head, and inferior means towards the feet. All right, more anatomical terms for you all. All right, so when something's medial, it means it's closer to the midline or middle of the body. When it's lateral, it means it's away from the midline. And when we refer to arms or legs, proximal means closer to the trunk of the body, and distal means away from the trunk. So basically, organ systems work together in a body. All right. For example, like the book gives here, the pancreas plays a role in endocrine and digestive systems. There are other structures and glands that also contribute to the operation of organ systems. All right, just different types of organ systems in our body. More of those. All right, so we have two main body cavities, ventral and dorsal. The ventral cavity developed early in development and contains thoracic, which is your chest, abdomen, which is your gut, and pelvic, which is your hips. All right, we also have ventral and dorsal cavities, so you should recognize the differences between those. There's just a diagram of the different body cavities. All right, so our bodies have membranes, and there are 4 different types: mucus, serous, synovial, and meninges. Mucous membrane is one of my favorite, easy to remember. So, my example is to be, I guess, you have mucous membranes in your nose, which creates snot. Uh, you know, I don't think as many people know this, but in our intestines, we have what are called goblet cells that secrete mucus, right? And so you usually don't see that if the mucus is absorbed properly. But when your digestive system is unhappy and you have diarrhea, it's kind of gross, but sometimes you'll see mucus in it, and basically that's being excreted to help break down different fats. We have our serous membranes, line closed cavities not open to the environment. So things in the heart, for example. Synovial membranes, composed of loose connective tissue. Uh, their big job is to secrete synovial fluid for lubrication. So we have synovial glands like in the knees and our ankles and our wrists, and those glands secrete the synovial fluid and acts like an oil. All right. The meninges was only of connective tissue. I think of this as the brain and surrounding areas. All right, we're going to go into the integumentary system next. Um, Basically, it's a lot of about the human skin. All right, so we have skin in our integumentary system, but the skin also has hair, nails, oil glands. All right, the system contains all four tissue types. Skin has two main regions, the epidermis and dermis. And under the skin, there is the subcutaneous layer, or the hypodermis. Same as before. Skin has two regions, epidermis and dermis, and a subcu layer. I love the diagrams of the skin. You can see the hair follicles coming up, the blood vessels, um, the different layers of epithelial cells and tissues at the top. And what people don't focus on a lot, but becomes important, I guess, when you get older, is skin also has, I don't know if you see my arrow or not, it has a fat layer here that's really important. All right, so the epidermis, thin outermost layer of skin, stratified with squamous epithelium, uh, and the stem cells that make our new skin are in the deepest layer. All right, so if an injury destroys the stem cells, skin needs to be replaced. All right, so you can do an autograft from another area of the body, or what's called an allograft from another person. Skin is not commercially available yet to the general public, but it can also be grown synthetically in a lab just from cells in dishes. All right, so different cells at the epidermis, we have the keratinocytes. It's been a while since I pronounced that word. They basically make keratin, and the keratin is just dead cells. So when you have a callus, it's, if you go to, I've done this many times because I have a lot of foot injuries. When you go to a podiatrist, they'll say, oh, you have keratinized tissue there, which means it's just really hard and it's callus buildup. The calluses are really strong, waterproof barrier. We also have Langerhans cells, a type of white blood cell in the epidermis. And we also have melanocytes, which produce the pigment melanin, which gives us skin color. So the more melanin you have in your skin, this pigment, the darker your skin is. The more melanin you have, the more resistant you are to getting sunburns and UV light damage. All right, just a summary here of that. Other contributors to skin color can be keratin and hemoglobin. And also remember is epidermal cells produce vitamin D when exposed to UV lights basically sunlight. So you need to get a little bit of sunlight each day. You just don't need to stay out in the sun 8 hours straight and end up with a really bad sunburn. All right, the dermis is the thick inner layer of skin made of fibrous connective tissue and contains a lot of collagen and elastic fibers. Subcutaneous layer, technically not part of the skin, but most people include it anyway. Loose connective tissue and adipose tissue, so that's the fat at the bottom of that diagram from a few slides ago. All right, it stores energy, insulates, and protects. So some of the accessory organs of the skin are the nails, the hair, and the glands. All right, there's the anatomy of a human nail. All right, so we have hair, which come from hair follicles, and we have a hair shaft, which is a portion of hair that comes out of the skin. We have oil glands, also known as sebaceous glands. They produce oil or sebum, which softens the hair and skin, but this also can create acne. We have sweat glands, or sudoriferous glands. They help regulate body temperature. All right, next we're going to talk about homeostasis. So homeostasis is trying to keep everything the same. Stasis is all the who you are, your body temperature, your blood pressure, et cetera, pH of your blood, I can go on. And so basically we want to keep everything relatively constant, and that's what homeostasis is. So the normal body temperature of humans is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 degrees Celsius. If the temperature varies within 5 degrees of either one, being too high or too low, you're out of homeostasis and you should go to a hospital. If you have a fever that's very, very high, or if you got a fever high from having a traumatic injury, such as like breaking a bone, once your temperature reaches 105, it can cause permanent brain damage. So that's why if you're 103, you kind of watch out. And if it goes 104, 105, you should probably go to the doctors or a clinic. All right, so the internal environment where we regulate temperature, pH, we could talk about the blood and the interstitial fluid. All right, blood delivers oxygen, takes away carbon dioxide and waste. Interstitial fluid surrounds the body cells and the substances are exchanged through it. And so these act as buffering systems that keep our bodies in homeostasis. So, homeostasis can also be affected by the nervous system and the endocrine system, which can secrete hormones, which might speed up the heart or slow it down or increase or decrease your body temperature. So how different organ systems create homeostasis is outlined here in this figure. So we have different mechanisms for maintaining homeostasis in our bodies. We have negative and positive feedback. Most of the mechanisms we use negative feedback, all right, and it has two components, a sensor and a control center. And basically you can turn things up or down or on or off. So the example here the text gives is this is how a furnace works, all right? So if it gets too cold, it turns on until it reaches a defined temperature. Here's an example of negative feedback. Here's body temperature homeostasis. You can look on this more on your own or pause the video. So positive feedback brings about a change in the same direction as the original stimulus. All right. So there's different examples of outlined here. Wow, that was it? I thought that we had more slides. All right, I probably I hope that helps. You know, the other thing I always recommend, I might pop up some of, what's it called? A link to, you know, if you want more and you like and you learn by you want to hear things. I love hearing things. I listen to podcasts all day long when I'm doing dishes or doing other activities around the house. Of there's lots of stuff on YouTube for, you know, little short videos on cells, and there's a million on homeostasis, so you can check out those as well. All right, thank you.